My running journey have reached the tipping point, and finally I will attempt my first proper ultra of 100 kilometers. Last year have been all about preparing for this day. Many hours running, biking, swimming, strength training, sauna sessions, everything has been to prepare for this day of attempting the 100K race Kullamannen in Båstad. And the sun is out. It is finally time. Time for what, you might ask? It's my first 100K race down in Skåne. It's the same location as last year where we did our 50K, but now this year is 100K. 10 mil, as we would say in Swedish. I spent like the last 2 weeks looking on the course description. I made a background photo on my phone, so I have this background photo on my phone and I've been looking a lot at it. It feels so good to be mentally prepared for all the stages. So we're gonna start out from a place called Höganäs and we're gonna run to a place called Båstad. So we will take a bus from Båstad to Höganäs. It will be a point-to-point race, this 100K, and the buses go from Båstad at 8 o'clock, 2000. Arriving in Båstad, 1600. So I will now pick up the bibs and the drop bags and everything. Then I'm gonna change and probably eat my food. So, but I'm in good time. Our bus leaves here in 4 hours. Now I will have my second meal of pasta and scrambled eggs. That is my approved pre-race food. And since this is my fourth long race, I deem it to be very tried and my stomach is very happy when I eat it. So 16:25, 3.5 hours to start. An hour before the bus left, I sat ready at the pickup location by the hotel. I was ready. We walked to the bus and at 2000 the bus was leaving from Båstad to Höganäs. When we arrived in Höganäs, they showed us the way to a gymnastic court where they put us all to wait for the final 40 minutes until the start.
100K run. We're just gonna have a very quick brief.
Moving out to the starting line, 20 minutes left. Epic adventure music was blasting through the speakers, and the hosts were telling stories about Kullamannen.
I've said it before, it will be painful.
Until he finally appeared on his white horse.
We're welcoming Kullamannen into the start line. Then we are waiting for the priest of Höganäs and the church to give you the best wishes in its own way. And here is also Kullamannen approaching. Hey! 10 seconds to start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, run! Publikens jubel och bära luften, gå!
$9K done. Been keeping a pretty high pace. I'm gonna do the first 10K under 1 hour. We'll see how it turns out later on. It's been great. Very nice temperature, minimal wind, just great. Really, really great. I held a 6 minute per kilometer pace for the first 15K before our first trail started, and I had a blast. Flying through the woods, it was just great. We had a little climbing and went down to a 7 minute per kilometer pace, moving through the first section of the race at a fast clip. Arriving at Svanshall, 34 minutes past midnight. After 2.5 hours of running, we arrived to Svanshall at the 24 kilometer mark. First checkpoint, 24K and 25 minutes before schedule. That's pretty insane. I feel good. Look at that. 24K, great. Keeping up with the momentum, I just refilled some fluids and kept moving. Next stretch was 21 kilometers to Råbocka camping. It went good, and at 30 kilometers my legs started to feel heavy. Around the same time the ground started to get really wet. A lot of stretches with overflooded trails with water up to the ankles. To me, it was all good that the terrain went all muddy. My legs needed a bit of extra rest anyway. Weather was perfect, 10 degrees Celsius, no wind, and a lot of people out on the trails. At this stage, I thought that maybe my legs and body just holds out. And today I got this amazing race where I could actually jog, run, walk, solidly the entire race. I imagined all the different titles I could use for this video. Greatest race of my life. I felt fast for 100K. It really was the best of times. After 31K, I had to mix the running with walking. Walked 500 to 1000 meters, mixed with 1 to 3 kilometers of running. It worked well, and I still felt that I could move quite fast. We arrived in Råbocka at 3:42. 5 hours and 42 minutes of running. We arrived at Råbocka at the 45K mark. I planned on arriving at 3:30, so kind of in line with my plan. I took my time, had a warm meal, 2 cups of coffee, changed socks, washed and retaped my feet. I spent about 45 minutes at the aid station, getting prepared for the next half of the race. Next up was 12 kilometers away, and I started to move. I could still manage to do some solid running. 2-3 kilometer here, 1-2 kilometer there, with mixed walking. Felt good, and I still felt that I could move quite fast. Not quite as fast as I planned, but still solid movement forward, and I had a blast. So my main torch stopped working. Båstad. På alla fall en halvtimme. Nej. But now I changed my batteries on this spare torch and it's actually quite okay. 55K in and I'm feeling good. Not moving very fast, but I'm feeling nice. Stomach is great. I got some food in at 45K. I arrived to the next aid station Stora Hult at 6:37. We were now an hour after my initial plan, but all I could think about was to keep moving so to not lose momentum. Quick break and I went on. It was just 9 kilometers to the next aid station. Morgonen är här. Som vi väntat, men det kommer blåst och regn. Leaving the aid station, I had now been out for over 8 hours and managed to move a total distance of 57 kilometers. I could still do some running, but now the tables were turning on my legs for the worse. I did a couple of 500 meter walk, 500 meter run, but I quickly turned to 700 meter walk, 300 meter run, and 800 meter walk, 200 meter run. I don't have any power left in my legs. Almost at 60k. And yeah, that's what's up. Very tired legs. I kept this up and knew it was just 9 kilometers in total to the next aid station. Keep moving, keep moving. Arriving at Glimminge, 8:29. Oh, it's 9 long kilometers. 1 hour and 30 minutes behind schedule. Not good, not terrible. Took a solid bathroom break and refilled my water supply. Restocked and stomach was on top. I kept moving onto the last aid station, Hovs Hallar, which was 17.5 kilometers away. Never before have I covered this much distance in one go. Actually got my mood up quite a bit and I'm really pumped actually. I'm really psyched. I have 1k left to 70 kilometers and I'm on my way to the last aid station. It feels really surreal actually. The only problem is my legs are very sore, but I don't care. It's gonna smash them through this and do what it takes. It's not long to go now. At this point, I could not run anymore. I did try some kind of speed walk shuffle thing for some of the distance, but overall, I was a slob out there. I really had to push it to just keep a normal walking pace. 4 or 5 kilometers in, and it was taking a very long time to move. I started to do some calculations on the remaining distance and the imminent cutoff time of 20 hours. It dawned on me that it would be hard to make the cutoff at this pace, and my legs were only getting worse. For the first time in the race, this hauled me into a low mental state. I could not have imagined I would not be able to make the cutoff. I planned for the race to take 14 hours, sure, maybe 3 hours more, but this was way more than I planned. It took a hard turn on my mindset. I called my spouse and went over my situation, and she could feel that I was struggling. I felt that if they said the cutoff time were set in stone of 20 hours, I would not do the last stretch of 20 kilometers, since it would take me at least 5 hours to complete it, and I would definitely be outside the cutoff. I pushed on my walk, and it took a long time to cover any ground at all, but I stayed locked in on just getting forward. Arriving at Hovs Hallar 12:30. It took me 4 hours and 6 minutes to cover the 17 kilometers to Hovs Hallar, and we've been out for over 14 hours. I oriented myself a bit to find someone that I could ask about the burning question of the cutoffs. Was this it? Was the suffering over? Was all my hours of training to prepare myself coming to an end now? Before I asked my question, I tried to frame it in my head, so to not give myself an easy way out. I grabbed one of the organizers and firmly posed my question. If I were to come in at the finish line at 20 hours and 30 minutes, will I be disqualified or will you let me finish outside the cutoff time? The organizer told me, well, I'm not quite sure. Then a participating runner appeared. He told me, I talked to the race director yesterday, and he said that he will be leaving on Sunday. What did he mean? What I mean is that they will leave on Sunday sometime, which means everyone has time to finish their distance. A rock dropped in my chest with mixed emotions. This meant I had time to finish, and it also meant that I must be held accountable for my actions, which is to finish what I started. I responded, "Alright, that's great news. Here's to 5 hours of more pain." A bit weary, I had a sandwich and a half banana, refilled my front soft flasks and my camelback, then I got back to it. I were now at 83 kilometers and the next stretch had 300 meters of climbing. I kept it up and covered some ground at a very slow 13 to 14 minute per kilometer pace. We were very soon entering the 90 kilometer zone. Just a little bit more and we were there. At 92 kilometers, my legs went completely AWOL. This was not muscle cramps, they were completely fatigued. I felt like a pendulum, like I could not do anything but to swing back and forth. My legs' ability to push me forward was just not there. It felt like I was walking in slow motion. Forward movement was extremely slow and I could not shake the feeling that I will simply not be able to get to the finish. I sat down at a yarrow yard and called my mind for a second. A few minutes later, I got myself standing again. With no improvement. I called my spouse to spew bad feelings about the situation. She was understanding and told me that I would do what felt best, and all I could think about was finding the next race personnel so that I could quit. Hold up, wait a minute, try to turn this around. Turn what around? Your legs are just getting worse, man, you can't walk. I said goodbye to my spouse and told her I'll see what happens. Sacked and delirious, I was walking around on the trail as if I've been hammered for 30 hours straight, thinking to myself, I can't believe how blasted I feel. Eventually, I hold up my phone to turn to find some music, headed into Spotify and found some old playlist. After a few minutes, I started to feel a bit better, and in an attempt to catch that feeling, I started to sing out loudly in the forest. 1 song, 2 songs, 3 songs. This actually worked. 10 to 15 minutes later, I felt much better. What happened next was so incredible that I did not bear to mention it or even to think about it too much, not to jinx it. It was like, you're in a dream and know you're dreaming. Don't mess this up now, cause you can wake up any minute. My legs actually came back a bit. Not like I could run or anything, but I could walk in a normal 13 minute per kilometer pace. It felt too good to be true. But I stayed with it and continued to sing in the forest, loudly for everyone to hear. We now shared the trail with the 50K racers that started a couple of hours ago, and they were blasting by like sports cars. We were on a beautiful trail looking over the ocean on a high hill, and it was not all that bad. My legs were great walking friends, and I even flirted with some speedwalk shuffle, and we were once again covering some ground. The last part of the race, called Epilogen, is a loop that you do at the finish line. You're literally walking by the finish and going out for another 5 kilometers before actually going into the finish line. Keep moving forward, 18 hours in, 2 hours left. Can't believe that I've been out here for almost 20 hours and the finish is so close. Tack!
Ja, det här är några av de riktiga kämparna under detta liv.
Fy fan. And I finally made it. My first 100k race, and it was a bit tougher than I had planned, but I made it through with memories I will never forget. Aftermath. I sat at the race station for a while and had the most intense struggle getting out of there. My legs were shattered to a level that I never experienced before. When I finally got to my car, I managed to drive to a nearby fitness center. It was such a struggle getting out of the car. I showered and relaxed for a bit, went back to the car, drove to the nearest fast food restaurant, grabbed a couple of burgers. I sat in the car and decided to sleep through the night in the car right then and there. I had a 7-hour sleep, went back home and managed to get into the apartment. My legs were shattered, but my mind is revived and another reference point has been added to be of use in life's all stressful situations. Until next time, stay safe and have an awesome day.